ready to go, Corporate Officer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Call the meeting of District of Summerland's regular council meeting with January 26th to order, please. And Corporate Officer, what do you have for us?
First item, Mr. Mayor, we've got the adoption of 3 sets of minutes. Regular council dated January 12th, special council meetings dated January 19th and the 21st, and therefore adoption.
Thank you. Now, if we don't have any errors and omissions, we can deal with all 3 of them at once. Has anybody got any corrections or omissions that they want to indicate? Nothing? Okay, then I would like a motion from one of the council members to recommendation that all these minutes be accepted. Thank you. Councillor Boot, a seconder, please. Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Carried. Motion's carried. Thank you. So, Corporate Officer, where are we now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next is resolution to amend the agenda, and we have 2 amendments to tonight's meeting agenda, and I will read out the resolution. That item 10.3, recommendation from the Committee of the Whole meeting be added to tonight's meeting agenda, and that item 14.1, resolution to close meeting to the public, be amended to read that this meeting now be closed to the public pursuant to sections 91C and G of the Community Charter for council to discuss labor relations and litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. And we do need a resolution to make the amendment, and then we will deal with the items when we come to them in the order on the agenda.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to accept that change of agenda? Councillor Barkwell, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item tonight, we have a public hearing on bylaw number 2014-33, and this is amendment of zoning bylaw number 2450 to rezone from RSD1 to RSD1I, 10120 Rand Street, and I will refer it to you to read the public hearing statement.
Thank you. By statute, I have to read this public statement when it comes to public hearing. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act. The purpose of this hearing is to consider certain bylaws which, if adopted, will amend Summerland Official Community Plan Bylaw 2003-10 and or Summerland Zoning Bylaw 2450. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to be present or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that are subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaw have been made available to the public. Now I'd like to invite the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time, and once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. During the public hearing, council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the hearing. At that time, any questions of staff should be for clarification only. Thank you. So, just before that, do we have any comment from you, Mr. Planner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, this was presented at the last council meeting. We're now here for public hearing, and it is just a rezoning to allow for the infill creation of 1 new lot on Rand Street.
Thank you. So are there any comments or questions from the public? So are there any questions or comments from the public? And for a third time, are there any comments or questions from the public? Hearing none, I guess we'll move ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we will move to 5.1, and there is a resolution on the table to give the bylaw second and third reading and to be adopted. So it will go back to the council table now.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions of staff at this time? The planner, Councillor Peak.
I just wanted to be, my recollection was access was going to be gained off of what street, just a reminder.
Most likely there will be access off Rand Street, however, that hasn't been determined as yet.
All right, I think this is a very good infilling situation. I think this allows at least one more dwelling, and I think it was a good idea on the owner's part as well. So I see this going forward in a good manner.
Any other questions? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I think this is, again, I echo what Councillor Peak says. I think this is a great example of smart growth principles, infill, redevelopment, densification. I think it's the sort of thing that we should encourage.
Okay, thank you. We'll have more discussion after.
Sorry.
I'd like to have one of the councillors move the recommendation, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Peak. Is there any discussion at all at this point on this? We've pretty much done anything further to Councillor Holmes, who kind of got squeezed it in there? Nothing? Okay. Okay, hearing none, are all in favor? Yep. Against? None, I guess there can't be. Motion is carried, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item on the agenda is delegations, and we have 2 delegations tonight. And the first delegation is the Summerland Community Arts Council to speak on their programs and events for 2015. And I'll introduce David Finnis.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. My name, for the record, is David Finnis. I'm president of the Summerland Community Arts Council, a position I've held for the last 2 years. So what I wanted to do was to, using PowerPoint, very briefly outline some of the things we do in the community. I think you know most of them. We have some material I'd like to leave behind for council and some of the staff, and also then to discuss a couple of the issues that we see facing us as an organization and this community over the next year and so. So that's our new building. Hopefully most of you have had a chance to be at 9908 Main Street. That's where we moved last July after having to move out of the old municipal hall that had been our home for 16 years. The gift gallery that you can see there has been a great success in that space. Being on Main Street has been an incredible asset for that part of our programming, without question. The gallery space is another issue, and we'll see some pictures of that. So what we do is we are an umbrella organization. There's a whole bunch of member groups that provide different events and services for our community through us. We promote the arts by the Street Banner Project, by the Art Gallery, things like that. We've been around for a while, as you can see, from 1979, from starting in the little space that's above the museum with a little office in the basement of the old library, to 16 years in the old municipal hall, to the current place that we're in, at least with the current arrangement, until the end of this calendar year. We are funded in part by the District of Summerland. We're grateful for that donation, or that grant, which hopefully could increase at some point. That grant has been is matched by BC Arts Council. So that's one thing that we do recognize, is that we appreciate the support we've had in that ongoing grant for the last 16 plus years. But that is matched by outside things. We also get some funding through gaming. We also do a fundraiser and different events as well. We're doing a fundraiser, Cafe Noir, coming up on the 21st of November that we'd invite everyone to. And that's always a lot of fun. And it's an opportunity to have a good time in downtown Summerland and support the arts. So we do a variety of things, like I mentioned. One of them is with the art gallery. We do 6 shows a year. They are broadly based from watercolors to abstracts to fiber art to sculpture. And the whole reason is to let people in Summerland see a wide range of artistic styles. We hold workshops for young and old. In the fall and in the spring, we do a summer program for the children. We had an artist in residence program in the basement of the old building. That was the first casualty of the move. We had somebody down there. We've had several artists in residence. They occupied space in that thing. It gave an emerging artist the opportunity to see whether studio space was something they wanted. and whether they should go out, from doing whatever they do at home to somewhere where they could actually have people in and sell their stuff and do things. So that was the first thing that disappeared in our move, because we had to move 3/4 of the way through her contract. We also have various member groups that meet in the building, or certainly we did in the old days. They don't do that as much anymore because we have noise issues and we don't have 2 rooms the way we had in the old building. So that's impacted a number of our member groups when they can meet. And a number of them found different homes, but as we all know, there's a premium on public space for different groups in our community. This is a wide range of people from, potters to painters to the stitchers, the quilters. There's a lot of different groups that are member groups of the Arts Council. And the Goodwill Shakespeare is one that has gone for 15 years. 5,000 students have come through our community from around the province to study Shakespeare. Think of the economic impact of 5,000 students and chaperones and teachers going home and talking about how wonderful Summerland is. We do an imagination station for kids at various events. We are the only free event for children at Action Festival in the park. So it's, something we think is important. We do it again, at Season Sparkles at other times. We do give bursaries to the high school students who go on into the arts as to study as well. This is a very popular program, so it's great for children to learn about writing, painting, drama. Gives them something to do in the course of the summer. That's probably our most well-known feature is the banner project. This will be the 17th year. We're beginning it again in March. We feel it really adds to the ambiance of our community, makes it a nicer place for those of us who have the good fortune to live here, but it also makes it a more attractive place for visitors to have the banners up and down Main Street. Originally, we thought it would be self-sustaining. We would sell the banners and, buy new banners. Hasn't quite worked that way, partly because of, not everybody wants to buy maybe a child's banner unless it's their own banner. It has been very popular, though, and we do thank the district. We thank Summerland Power, wherever Don has gone, for putting up the banners in all those years. It's a great asset. Just as an aside, though, I went looking at the banners one year, years ago, when my younger son, Stephen, was in elementary school, and because we always would bid on one, and he was pointing out that like 3/4 of the banners were by kids in his class at Giant's Head. And I think, that's an aspect of the banner program we don't think about, is that connection of children, and therefore also their families, but particularly those kids to downtown, that we would lose if we did not have a street banner project. The art gallery space has changed significantly, and that's really why we're here, is that, we don't have the track lighting that we need for shows. The caliber of, we had reached a very good standard for a community of our size within the arts community in this province. That is going to change with the new facility. It's not as big. We are working on the lighting. It's a difficulty putting in lighting in a building you're only in for another 11 months, but so that's one thing. But so that is something that has impacted us. We know we've got less, certain people don't want to show because it's not quite what it was in the old space. The gift gallery, though, however, is a success story, very much so. Season Sparkles was something like $13,000. It was twice what it had been. This is our Christmas show. So that's money that goes back. I mean, we get a portion of that as a commission, so it is one of our fundraising, but most of that goes back to local artists. I mean, so that's an incredibly good economic spin-off that we feel, and we also think it's a lot of, every time I go in there, and I often go into the building, before it's actually supposed to be open to drop stuff off, pick stuff up, and there's people looking in the window. So it's exciting that, we think we've added, it's definitely been better being street level on that block. Wednesdays on the Water was a great success last year. Some of you I know got to that. We want to go and do it in July. We asked for a grant so we could to help us with that last fall. It didn't, hoping that you'll reconsider that aspect. We're looking for a coordinator who would do that, who has gone out and got sponsorships in the business community, so that all of the performing musicians who come to that are paid for that. And it was a very eclectic range of music, and it had several hundred people at each event. And one of the great things with Peach Orchard is, you can be at the water park with little kids and still listen, or bring a lawn chair and be part of it. But it brings life to that park that we don't always use that much. It's also something that Peachland and the District of West Kelowna do. And, and it's highly successful up there in terms of bringing people into town. So we think, it's got a definite economic advantage as well as just being a fun thing to go to. Art Walk again. We coordinate with the business community to put painting, sculpture, different kinds of fiber art, whatever, in the businesses downtown. It's also an opportunity for people to go into businesses they might not otherwise go into. It's easy to walk into a retail store. It's harder to walk into a professional business that, why are you going to walk into a dentist if it's not your dentist, or a lawyer if you're not writing a will? But if there's some art in there, it gives you an excuse to go in, which is good for them. As I mentioned, this was highly successful. We run with volunteers, as so many organizations do in our community. So last year was a struggle for us moving, because unlike a lot of businesses and things, you find a new location, which was challenging enough, but then you close down for a couple days, you move your stock into a new location, you open up again. We had to keep planning. We had to keep planning the summer art program. We had to get in touch with all the people that were supposed to come in and do shows in 2014 and say, guess what? The venue's changed. Things like that. So there was a lot of, so when you're dealing with volunteers and moving and everything, it's a tough thing. And I am very grateful we had Chris Lewis in particular, but our whole steering committee to help us with that, because it was a lot of work to find a spot, to renovate a spot, and to move into it. We're always looking for volunteers to help with our gift gallery, to keep the art gallery open. It's basically how we do things. One of the other things we've done, and I noticed Shaw Cable come in earlier, is we coordinate with the studio tour, part of the studio tour, which in one actually didn't happen last spring because the artist in residence wasn't there, because the building was, she had to move, and there was too much uncertainty over our gift gallery. And so there were 3 things that would have been happening at the old municipal hall that didn't happen. So the studio tour didn't happen. But Shaw Cable did come and film interviews regarding Wednesdays on the Water, the summer art program, the moving, the Frieze of the Arts, that wonderful depiction of art that is now inside the building instead of on the exterior of the building. They also did a couple on Heritage Houses at Talking, that art show. And those are broadcast up and down the valley. So it's a great opportunity for Summerland to get out in the valley. And, it's another aspect of, where we think that, we need to be a little bit more involved with the marketing of this community in a tourism perspective. We'd been looking at Galleries West, which is aimed mainly at artists and art galleries. We haven't done it, partly price and partly the switch to the new gallery. But those kind of things, gets the name of this community beyond our borders. As some of you know, I work at the library in West Kelowna. I had a number of people comment on it because they knew I was connected with this. They'd seen it on Go Okanagan. So that's us in a nutshell. That is that wonderful frieze that 3 gentlemen helped move in the pouring rain last spring. And is now, if you haven't had a chance to see it, come and see it. It's on the inside. It's in the new Adams room. And it's a great work of art that, is part of this community's heritage. And that's actually one other thing. That was the second loss, actually, last year. One was the artist in residence leaving early. The second is the Summerland Community Arts Council owns a permanent art collection of works by Summerland residents, Irvine Adams, the newest one was actually a Bill Hibbard piece, Marjorie Croyle, a whole of others, some of which we've purchased, some of which we've been given and willed. That is currently housed in Penticton, at the Penticton Art Gallery. And so publicly, I'd like to say very grateful to our colleagues and friends at the public Penticton Art Gallery for housing that, hopefully temporarily for us. But that was something that this community doesn't have right now, or at least physically in our community. So that's something that hopefully with a new and enhanced center we could get back. And that's really why we're here, is that the current arrangement is to be in the building at 9908, the former half of Willowbrook, until the end of the calendar year. We'd like to have a permanent home, obviously, because we feel that these various things that we do, our member groups do, are valuable to the community, not just to us. I'm the second of 3 presidents, the last 3 presidents, who actually is not an artist. You know, neither Stan or I, you know, I may take some digital photography and stuff, but, you know, I don't paint, draw, write, other than the article for John there, but, you know, so I mean, that's the thing, you know, it's something I think that all of us, whether we are artistic or not and paint and draw or whatever, you know, can be involved in and can enjoy. And, you know, we feel the community will lose if there isn't a gallery, if there isn't space, because without space, we can't paint the banners. Without somebody to hang the banners, there's no point of us painting them. You know, all of that stuff, the summer art program for children, the workshops for kids, the you know, publicity far and wide, the bringing people in, the season sparkles and the gift gallery that does bring people. In the spring, I was in the building, a couple came in from Calgary. They bought a really nice little piece that Rose did. You know, it's gone home to Calgary, you know, so that's the value of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, and you might even be preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
So, are there any comments from council or questions of Mr. Finnis, Doug Holmes, Councillor Holmes?
Thanks, David. I have a couple questions. One, you mentioned that the grant you received from us is matched by the BC Arts Council.
Yes, it is.
What is the Arts Council's limit for matching?
That I honestly don't know. The grant we've been getting is roughly in the range of about $3,600. It hasn't adjusted in, you know, a decade and a half or more, but it is matched by the BC Arts Council. So if you were not to give us that, you know, it would be like $7,400 or whatever, you know, that wouldn't be coming in. I don't know what their upper limit is at the moment. We also get funding for our staff member through gaming, and that is restricted for certain, you know, basically for staffing. So that's, this other money gives us the programming money, the you know, purchasing the banners and the advertising and the different things we need to do and keeping the lights on.
Councillor
If
Boot?
you have-
Councillor Boot, you were first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, David. I have a few questions. May I
Use
be
your
typing
mic.
here? Firstly, will we have a copy of this presentation?
You'll have something very,
Do you have
very
some-
comparable to it. This is a list that Karen did up of all the different things we're doing and some of the special events. So I'll leave that
Okay.
for you all.
Is it possible for us to have the PowerPoint as well?
Sure.
That'd be great.
It's probably on your computer, isn't it, Ian? Good.
Yeah. Great. Oh, I lost my notes. Just a sec. I, as well as what Peter has just mentioned, I fully see the opportunities here in terms of economic development and just getting the talent that's in Summerland out so that people can see it, not just the people that live here, but others as well. I would like to see some type of inclusive discussion and collaboration so that we can work with the Arts Council in moving things forward. So
Thank you, yeah.
thanks for your presentation.
And that's partly why we're here, you know, you as well, staff, but also the people of the community. You know, it's that whole community discussion of, you know, what is the future, really, you know? What do people want to invest in?
Councillor Peak?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I had the question, as Doug did, about the Arts Council, the grant matching funds. But I realized that collaboratively, we really do all need to work together. It's great for you to be on the street front. Obviously, it doubled your sales on Free Season Sparkles, which is wonderful for the artists involved. But we'd like to see you have a permanent home. And I know that many of us in our discussions, before we even got to council, would like to see some supportive funding that's ongoing, that isn't just a grant that you sort of look for each year. I'm wondering, to my other question being on the gaming funds that you receive, are they something that you know for sure, or, because my understanding is none of those are know for sure, you have to wait. So how do you go about those?
In 2008, or, well, 2009 probably is when they actually hit us with not doing it. In 2008, with that economic crisis, and the province retrenched on its gaming money, and we got hammered, as did a lot of groups around that relied on those gaming funds for operation. And we basically lost our executive director at the time. We couldn't pay her. We had to reduce the hours. And eventually the province came back and said, yes, we will fund groups that actually deal with adults, not just children. Because that was, they were going to fund, well, we'll fund certain programs for kids. And we're going, yeah, but if we can't do these other things, it is a collaborative, we need the whole building because, to adult programs, we do a lot of children's programming. Our coordinator for the summer program, we do get an HRDC grant from the federal government to hire somebody. And then we top up the wage a little bit with various fundraising that we can do. But yes, it's never certain, and that's our predicament. And we know that we obviously, like every group, need to do more fundraising. We also know that we're trying to do all these other things, and that's part of our dilemma as well, to run a summer art program, to coordinate the banners. We need more people at the moment. There's 3 of us actually who won't be returning to the executive at the annual general meeting at the end of February for various reasons. So, there's 3 of us. 2 of us have been there for a while, and one who gratefully came on last night in the middle of, or last year in the middle of all this. And so we need more people as well as money.
When you look at a collaborative discussion, I would think that the Potters Guild needs to be involved in that as well.
We looked at some joint, at one point we looked at being housed with them, and that particular building did not work due to the cost of renovations and a few other issues with it, unfortunately.
Okay. I think we'll have to
leave it for
move along. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much.
I think, as people have mentioned here, we're definitely going to have continuing discussions, and there'll be, as we move forward in the budget process, the whole idea is to re-examine and examine where funding is going. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the
We'll be
time.
seeing
Sorry
you.
to go over.
Thank you, no problem. Thank you. We have another delegation, Friends of the Gardens, and Eva Antonievich. Close? Kornievich.
Hello, thank you.
Okay, we're trying.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. I'm here with our Vice Chair from the Friends of the Gardens, Don Gayton. So some of you are new here, and I usually come here once a year with this request for a certified resolution for the Okanagan Basin Water Board grant proposal. Friends of the Gardens are a not-for-profit charitable organization, and we were formed in '91 to help research center maintaining and the gardens, and also educate local community of new ways of gardening. I mean, that was always the main reason behind the research center gardens, to showcase and teach people how to garden here in the Okanagan. Now, as the water may become an issue in the future, that's our focus. And the new title for our new grant is called Demonstrating Water and Climate-Wise Landscaping Practices in Canada's Driest Region. We're going to be applying for $30,000, and all that we need from you, the District of Summerland, is the certified resolution, and it's been like this for the last 4 years. So if you have some questions with regards to our proposal.
Okay, any questions from council?
I gave you a handout.
Yep.
Oh, you did, yes, it was
Yeah.
very detailed.
Mhm. This is actually a big grant that we apply to through several agencies. It's a $100,000 project, and we have matching funds from EcoAction, Community Foundation of South Okanagan, and Okanagan Basin Board is just one chunk of that, yeah.
I see no problem in doing that. Corporate officer, can we do that now?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like a counselor to take that up, please, and read that request, please. Councilor Boot?
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to
Sure, go
read
ahead,
the
please. Yep.
requested recommendation?
Yep.
That the District of Summerland support the Friends of the Gardens Okanagan Basin Water Board's Water Conservation and Quality Improvement Grant application.
Okay, have someone to move that recommendation, please? Councilor Carlson, seconder, Councilor Holmes, all in favor? Carried, so you have your resolution.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
luck.
Mayor. Thank
And
you.
as
Well, now the second
Was that was
project.
too easy. Oh, you want more?
The second project is very exciting. In 2016, there is going to be centennial of the Summerland Ornamental Gardens. Right now, we are working on a Heritage Canada grant proposal called Building Communities Through Arts and Culture. So far, we've recruited quite a few local heritage artisans and artists to participate. We're getting lots of letters of support in. However, the actual grant requires a commitment from the local municipal government, and I gave you a page that has to be filled by you. They also, I guess, to stamp your agreement, you have to give us some kind of a contribution, either in cash or as in kind, to make this application even acceptable at the other end. We discussed it with our board, and some of the donations that we could include, this is just a little shopping list, and you may have some other ideas. Cash of $500. They told me if cash or in kind of $500 is a minimum of what this Heritage Canada requests from the local municipality. One thing that we could go with is rental of your tables. We often use your tables for our spring plant sales, so that would be one. The Summerland Museum is actually going to give us lots of heritage objects on loan during our centennial in 2016. And they said to me that they already use the district's truck and driver to transport these heritage objects between the storage facilities and their museum. And it was actually their curator that suggested that we request that same truck and a driver to bring the objects up to the gardens on loan during those festivities. Another idea that we had was possibly to get your public works staff to help prepare and dismantle our festival site. We are hoping to have recreate the old farm picnics that used to be attended with up to 4,000 people. We had put a request through the research center to open the gate and have a great garden train coming up. So we are hoping we have like local, the Art Council was just here. Lots of people that were listed on your list there are going to participate, like quilters and hookers, rag hookers, and all kinds of. So there we go. And they're actually working on a commemorative rag for us, as well as commemorative quilt. We have an old flagpole that was the pride and joy of the entire Summerland, if not BC. The largest, the tallest flagpole in the province, over 30 meters tall, that there's still bits of it around, and we will work on developing a kiosk, interpretive signage out of it. Anyway, I'm diverting here. Going back to your types of donations, photocopying and printing, and maybe advertising. And maybe you can think of some other possible in-kind donations.
Thank you. Any questions of Eva at this time? Councillor Peak?
Your shopping list gives a good opportunity for us to do something in kind, even if we didn't do the dollars. And being new to council, I don't know whether, if we just supported the resolution to be an in-kind contribution, whether that could be then worked out with staff, what it might be. I'm not
I
quite
think,
sure, Mr. Mayor.
I think Councillor Peak, I'll refer to the corporate officer, but I believe we will take this under advisement and move forward with it in the future. How quickly do you need to know?
The application is due on January 31st, so we only have a week.
For this particular
Yes.
second situation?
Yes, for the second situation, yes. And it is...
So you did the easy one first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the easy one first.
Yeah.
And it is for 2016, this, but the grant is due at the end of this month. But the actual, your in-kind contributions will not take place until 2016.
Okay. So what do you recommend, CAO, with the time frame that they have?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you could, support the project and then look at the amount of in-kind, the quantum during the budget process this year. We'll be looking at discretionary items February 17th. I'm sure the individuals providing the grants may not be looking at all the fine print, and if they see support or in-kind support of some sort, that will probably, I hope that would cover it off.
So if we proceed with a motion advocating for this request as is, then we can proceed and go ahead with any sort of in-kind or cash after
Yes,
that?
but you would have to fill it in, so even if we don't use all of the in-kind, but for this application, it actually has to be, you've got a copy there, Mrs. Fujeta?
Not the app, I didn't attach the application.
Okay, but here it is.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sure we could find a way to make sure they get the application
Okay.
off by January 31st without council having to commit money. We'll until you've had a chance to look at all the discretionary items. So we'll find a way.
Okay, so we can just right now do a resolution to meet the request as a...
Support their application for
okay,
the grant.
Support the application?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to go ahead with that?
Yes,
please?
Mr. Mayor. Would be the District of Summerland support, provide a letter of support towards the Friends of Summerland Ornamental Gardens Centennial Celebration events in 2016 and the Society's application to Heritage Canada Anniversary Grant, Building the Communities Through Arts and Heritage.
Okay, can I have a mover of that recommendation, please? Councillor Boot, seconder, Councillor Peak. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So you'll have that, and we'll deal with the details. And I saw a barely imperceptible nod from our Public Works Director a minute ago. So it looks like we'll probably be able to help in some, maybe even a little bit more than just maybe the cash, maybe some in-kind with truck, et cetera. So
Yes,
we'll
and
do
if
what
you
we
think
can.
of any other heritage organizations that could participate, that would be great. Well,
Anyway, it
thank
was
you.
clever of you to deal with the first one first, I must say. Anyway,
exciting.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
Mr. Mayor
appreciate
and the
your time here.
council. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, move ahead to Mayor's
Yes.
report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, your report.
Since the last council meeting, my schedule's been very active, to say the least. Things started with an interesting business after business evening at the latest opening of a new business, Rockstar Clothing, on the corner of Main Street and South Victoria. I see the previous occupier of the space is present. Thank you for leaving it open for yet another business. It's a great location, and we wish them every success. This event was followed by yet another fascinating evening of the Conversation Cafe. And by the way, I do sincerely mean this. I tend to pretty much attend every Conversation Cafe, and this was one of the few that my wife was able to attend, and she was totally taken with the evening and enjoyed it very much. Barbara Thorburn and her committee do an incredible job of finding very interesting speakers. This last speaker was Danielle Crissa. She is a returned Summerland, a challenging writer and artist. The balance of the period was a series of meetings, including interviews for a new CAO for the District of Summerland, where we are getting very close to finding a successor to Mr. Day. In addition, Council has been busy in our own budget deliberations, and Councillor Boot and myself have attended a series of Regional District of Okanagan-Smilkameen regular meetings, budget meetings, and planning sessions. I was also extended an invitation to attend the Legion Robbie Burns dinner. I had my first serving of haggis. I actually enjoyed it. They told me it wasn't too spicy, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it. But it was all the pageantry of bagpipes and drums and a very interesting renditions of Robbie Burns' poetry and a blessing of the haggis. I also had to read a section of poetry, doing my very best rendition of a Gaelic accent. I won't try it now, but I did okay. So it was a very full house, and I'm looking forward to another invitation next year. Now, on a final, rather sad note, it was the passing of Ollie, Olaf Norman Norum, on December 31st. I attended a celebration of life at the Legion on January 22nd. There were lots of good stories. Many of us remember Ollie as a bit of a fixture downtown. He definitely added color to our town. And I think, the John Arndt had a good article in the last review and a lot more detail there. A bench will be funded in his memory, and you can go online at gofindme.com/Ollie Bench. Pardon me? GoFundMe, yeah. Sorry, I actually wrote fund down here, didn't read it. Or donations may be made at the credit union, and his friend Steve Huff took care of all the arrangements. So a bit of a sad thing, but lots of good stories that afternoon at the Legion. So that's my report, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, the CAO's report.
Again, nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Did I steal your thunder, or you just got nothing happening? Okay, Ms. Corporate
Next,
Officer?
sorry, Mr. Mayor. Next item on the agenda, we have one report for under the Development Services reports. It's a development variance permit application for 16110 Prairie Valley Road, and I will refer this to our Director of Development Services.
Thank you. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a development variance permit for a property at the end of Prairie Valley Road adjacent to our water treatment plant. Subject site is 10-acre parcel of land with a single detached house. The property is designated agriculture in our official community plan. It's also zoned agriculture A1, and it is also in the agricultural land reserve. And the proposed development is to construct a new single detached house and convert the existing house into a dwelling for farm help. And generally speaking, additional residences are not permitted on agricultural properties. However, they are permitted where full-time employees are required to operate an agricultural use due to the intensity of farming as identified by a professional hydrologist in a written report or as identified through a letter from the Agricultural Land Commission. Excuse me. So in this particular case, the applicants have provided a report from a registered hydrologist or professional hydrologist stating that the need for permanent worker accommodation on this 10-acre farm, and also stating that the construction of the new house should take place on the west portion of the property in order to minimize removal of orchard trees. So in this particular case, this portion of the site is not planned to be used with the gravelly soils in the area. So the farm home plate notion is the idea of keeping all non-farm uses in the same area on the parcel. And that is intended to keep houses from springing up across the site and using up the farmable area. In this particular case, if the dwelling was to be constructed in accordance with the farm home plate regulations, it would require the removal of trees in this area. And so the proponents wish to keep farming in that area and build the house over in an area where there is no trees at the moment. So two variances to the zoning bylaw are proposed. The first is to vary the requirement to have the second dwelling within the farm home plate, and the second is to allow a farmhouse dwelling to have a basement. Again, the size, the number of stories, and the number of bedrooms, and the prohibition on the basement is intended to keep farm help dwellings as sort of a minimal dwelling that would only be of interest to a farm employee and not be a general family home for rental to persons not employed on the farm. So in this particular case, the proposal doesn't minimize or doesn't impact negatively on the farming of the property, which is the general intent. They have a report from an hydrologist that supports the need for a farm help dwelling, so the application is supported.
Thank you. At this point, we can have questions from council as well as from the public. So, council, any questions of staff at this point? Councillor Holmes, and then Councillor Peak.
How would driveway access to the house be?
We did have contact the applicant, and it's very difficult to see on that slide, but there is an access road through this spot here. You can see there's a little bit of a roadway there, so access would be from Prairie Valley Road up through this
would that require removal of trees?
My understanding is it may require the removal of the trees, yes.
Councillor Peak?
Thank you, I had that question as well. I'd like to understand the home plate, and how that size is determined. Is it determined by the acreage on the property? Is it a fixed amount for every property? How is that determined?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have two regulations with respect to farm home plate, and that was first introduced within our new zoning bylaw. And that again is intended to limit the residential use on farm parcels. So the basic home plate is 905 square meters, which is about 10,000 square feet. It's slightly smaller than our largest residential RSP3 estate lot, which is 1,000 square meters. And that is intended to house all of the residential portions, which would be the house, septic field, garage, swimming pool, lawns, all the residential components are intended to be within a 905 square meter lot, or area within the lot. And that is irrespective of the size of the parcel. That home plate increases to 1,500 square meters if you have been authorized by a professional hydrologist to have a second dwelling to a farm house. So in this particular case, the farm home plate would increase from 905 square meters to 1,500 square meters.
Okay, if I might, a second question, Mr. Mayor. A new home in this kind of situation, what size would the home be? Is there a maximum size for the home?
I believe that there is a maximum size and it's related to the home plate, and I believe it is 35% of the farm home plate can be for structure. So in this case, 35% of 1,500 square meters would be allowable for residential structures.
And can this be a two-story home as well, or is it just restricted to a ground footprint?
The main farmhouse is subject to the same rules as all the other residential uses, which is two-story, limited to 2 stories, 9.5 or 30 some feet tall. And the second dwelling is limited to 4.5 meters tall, 1 story with no basement, and limited to a maximum of 3 bedrooms.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have no difficulty with the application, I just wanted to better understand it.
Okay, Councillor Carlson?
I have a few questions, and I don't know if staff will necessarily have the answers.
Of course they will.
They might. First is, who's going to be farming this in 2015? If the house isn't built yet, will there be a permanent labor there? Second, I don't know if someone has an answer for that, or if I could just chop them up.
Well, Mr. Mayor, the applicant, I believe, is in the gallery, so they may have the answers to some of these questions. That particular question I do not have to answer.
Okay. Whether it's relevant or not is another thing.
It
Okay, another one.
becomes.
Okay.
It becomes relevant to me because seeing the property, I believe that if there's no plan to replant, to modernize, and to create a farm business, I'd like a little more justification in why they feel the need for a permanent employee to live on site, just in the current state of that farm.
Generally speaking, Mr. Mayor, if I may, the zoning bylaw allows a second dwelling for farm help if the parcel has more than 5 acres on the irrigation goal and a professional hydrologist has stated that such a permanent dwelling is required. Generally speaking, if we have that report from the professional hydrologist, we don't delve in too deeply into that report.
Okay, anything else, Councillor Carlson? Is there any member of the public who would like to address some of those queries, please? Councillor, the agrologist report? Mr. McIntosh.
That, Mr. Mayor, the hydrologist report has been received and we have a copy of it in the office.
I see. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else the owners would like to make a comment at all? No? Councillor Barkle.
Wouldn't an agrologist report like this normally be part of our package of materials concerning a application for rezoning and an amendment to the official community plan?
Well, in this particular case, it's not an amendment to community plan, but we can attach those in the past. We haven't generally attached either wildfire reports or geotechnical reports or environmental reports or professional reports. Generally aren't, but they certainly could be, and we have a, we can circulate the report to council issues.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'd want to read them in all cases, but I guess if it's 50 pages, it's not so practical, but if it's, how long is this particular report?
This one is a couple of pages.
Yeah, so myself, I would like to see that. I think some others would too, as a matter of practice. I think to be fully informed for applications.
Councillor Booth? Did you have a question?
I do have a question. Ian, if you, could you just confirm for me that the second part of this variance permit is because the existing house, which will be the farm help house, already has an existing basement, and that's what that second part of the variance is?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that is exactly the case. To bring the existing house into compliance, if it's going to be a second dwelling, the farm help cannot have a basement. So the variance has to either be issued or the basement would have to be decommissioned.
Okay, so that leads me to a question then. If that's the case, and there's a second part of the variance with the basement, why is the request, and I don't know, maybe whomever is in the audience can answer this, being made to have a variance building that second building and a second variance for the basement in the existing house instead of just having the house as it stands now and building a separate dwelling for the farm help that doesn't have a basement? I don't know the answer to that, so I'm just querying.
I don't have the answer to that, but my guess would be that the existing structure that's there now is quite small and it's older. So the property owner, I suspect, would like to build a larger, newer, more current house and convert the existing structure into the farm house. That's speculation.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay, I guess what I'm seeing here is a request for a little bit more information from some councillors, is that correct?
That wouldn't delay me, voting on this. I'm thinking of for future reference.
Oh, for future issues, you're saying?
That's just me.
Yeah, well, no, but for future issues,
Yeah.
not this particular
Yes.
issue.
I would agree with Councillor Barkwell's request. I think it's nice to see the reports, and it gives us an opportunity for a better understanding of the application itself. Not always would you have a question on the report because it's usually done by an expert that you may not know that background, but it gives you that background for the decision you're making.
I guess what I'd like our planner to make clear is that what we have here is an application for a variance from normal procedures, correct? So it's a matter of granting that variance really isn't predicated on what the occupant may do with the land, other than the fact that it's the agrologist report has indicated it is a producing piece of land. I mean, I see where Councillor Carlson is coming from, and I do agree that, we want to see modernization of orchards, and the justification for, more help is based on the intense nature of some of the new farms as opposed to the practices that are required in an older operation. But I'm probably correct in saying that those are not necessarily stringencies that we can apply to this variance application. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if the house was to be constructed in the confines of the home plate, there would be no application to council. We would simply issue the permit.
Okay.
So in this particular case, what is being requested of council is that the house wants to be, the applicant wishes to locate the permitted second dwelling outside of the home plate.
Okay.
And then deal with the fact that the current house has a basement.
So essentially, though, the size of the house proposed, if it was in the home plate, wouldn't exceed the percentage allowed as part of the size of the home plate area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So essentially what we're doing is allowing, if we do, allowing the variance to take that, remove it, so it leaves that in one place, the existing thing, existing house in one location, but removing the house that may have been put in the home plate to an area that's unusable. I think where I would have difficulty is if this house was being placed on a usable part of the property in terms of its productive capacity. And I would be standing pretty firmly with Councillor Carlson on, demanding that we try and see a lot more drive to do that. But I think in these circumstances, I would have to move with the variance. Councillor Carlson?
I guess if we make an exception to the rule, is there any way we can check back? Is there anything that we can do beyond allowing this to go ahead, or is that's it? And they can do as they like after it's allowed?
Mr. Mayor, it depends on the conditions. If the conditions were to be, for instance, we support the variance provided that an extra acre of land be planted or something, or if we support the variance if the access comes off of Doherty Avenue, or, there are a number of conditions that the variance could be issued under, so I'm not quite sure what sort of conditions might be.
Okay, I guess what I'm thinking, if I can interject, is that essentially if we did not grant this variance, then the occupant or the owner would be forced to put this building in the home plate area.
That's correct.
Okay? And they would still have to be there alongside the existing house if he wanted to retain that as a farm help building. Right. Okay, thank you. Any, Councillor Holmes?
For me, the issue isn't so much the proposed new house, it's just that it's how to ensure the existing structure is used for its intended purpose for its new purpose.
And there is a requirement in the zoning bylaw as well to register a covenant on the property that notifies any new owner that the farm help dwelling must be occupied by an employee on the farm. But again, that is just a document. There is nothing that the municipality typically does to ensure that an employee is in fact living in that house. So there is a certain, the theory is if a professional hydrologist deems that it's required and a covenant is placed on the property to indicate that future owners will know, that's about as far as we can go with ensuring that. But there are no guarantees.
Councillor Trainer?
I'm just wondering, can that property be rented out? Then if they're going to live in the primary residence, can that farmhouse where the farm workers would be living, could that be rented out in the future?
It could be rented out to farm workers who are employed on the property.
But that's it?
that it's all people that has to be employed on the farm.
There's no way
Okay.
of knowing. There's no
That's
enforcement.
the checks, the exception to the rule, yeah.
In practical purposes, that isn't enforced, no.
Mm-hmm.
Herein lies the problem.
So, Councillor Peak?
I understand the dilemma we're in. It's not any different than somebody who has a home and rents out a portion of their home, even though it's a residential property. These kind of things you kind of get caught up in. There is a trust factor involved in it. I understand that trying to make sure that a laborer has a dwelling that doesn't have a basement precludes the notion of it being more of a storage center, a living center for all the year kind of thing. But I don't know that we can get at it with land use. And if there was a complaint received, would we follow up on it? Is there that kind of mechanism?
We certainly could, but Mr. Mayor, what's basically driven this is the regulations for second dwellings for farm help are enshrined in the Agricultural Land Commission Act and the regulations. Our former zoning bylaw allowed them, if you simply had 5 acres on the road and you got one, it had to be a mobile home. That was causing issues in neighborhoods where there were unsightly mobile homes being placed on properties as a matter of right if you had more than 5 acres. So the last zoning bylaw update tightened the rules up a bit, and they said that you would only get a second dwelling if you could convince an hydrologist to write you a report that says the intensity of farming is sufficient to warrant one, and that they are limited in size. They're allowed to be stick framed as opposed to a mobile home to improve the aesthetic value of these things. So we've moved a couple of steps in the right direction, but we certainly haven't solved the issue.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Planner, I'd like you to do a blow-up of that home plate area, please. Well, no, I want you to enlarge it so that blown up is not a term to be used these days. Enlarged, please.
Is that what you're-
Well, can you magnify it so I
Oh,
can?
The tightest image we have on this set here is.
Can't you zoom in on it?
No, these are PowerPoint slides.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. Okay. I guess what I'm getting at is there indeed not room on that, you got it on Google?
You gotta unplug it.
I guess my point is there isn't physically room to put the new dwelling within the home plate area, or is just a desire by the owner to have a better location with a better view?
I believe the applicant, it looks like they may want to comment on this application, which may bring some clarity to that issue.
Okay, if they would, I'd appreciate that, please. Mr. Giannotti or whoever?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm George Giannotti. I'm acting as the agent for the owner, Mr. Brian Coffey, who's made it down from Edmonton today. Grand Prairie, sorry. Anyways.
I'm a farmer from Grand Prairie. I have a bison farm there, and I'm going to retire, and I come here and buy this place and farm it, as my wife and I. And the house that is there now is a very old house. It was built in the early 1900s. And the basement that's there was a oil furnace in there, an oil tank, and things like that that didn't have natural gas in it. And so like the basement is not functional, just for a furnace.
The other thing, as far as the basement, the requirements is that if you have a basement that's 6'8" or less, it classifies as a crawl space. In this case, we're about 6 feet under the beams, but the actual portion where you're standing under the floor joist is about 6'10". So if we can get, by pouring a 3-inch slab of concrete in, you'd solve the problem. We could call it a crawl space, but we're just dealing with the structure. It is a very old structure, stone foundations, and the building is not repairable.
Yeah.
It's just going to be used as a farm.
Yeah. No, I
workers'
don't.
accommodation.
I don't
in
have
that
any
sense.
argument with the workers' accommodation.
Yeah.
And you missed my point. The point is that is there not space on the home plate area for a new dwelling and leaving this particular old dwelling in the same spot it is right now?
There's-
I would lose
yeah.
orchard.
Yeah,
I would lose arable land. by doing that.
that's the
Okay.
issue, is that
Okay.
you're not just dealing with, the
So even if
the
it-
house.
the-
It's the garage, there's a garage, and then
Okay.
there's lawn area outside. It's also the fact that you have to think about is the septic field area. That has to go somewhere, and there are large septic field area now required.
Okay,
So that's gonna eat up
yeah,
more.
no, I'm
more
just
land
asking the
for-
questions
yeah.
and you're helping with your answers.
Yeah. So
And-
the other thing is that, in the location of the new house
Yep.
is gravel. And the fact that the gravel area has been non-farmable for a number of years. The
Okay.
Gears family have not been able to grow anything on it. That's the reason the new structure is going in that location, so that we're not tearing up any valuable orchards. Mr. Coffey's indicated that the current tenant of the orchard has got a 2-year contract to farm that. They've just spent $24,000 in putting the deer fence around it for the new planting that will probably be done after the 2 years.
We done some extensive pruning in there this winter until the snow came. The trees have not been looked after for a long time. And so we plan on replacing trees there's a lot of old trees in there that need to be replaced. We're gonna replace the trees, and we like to live and farm there. That's what we came here.
Yeah, no, the only reason sorry, Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the discussion, but this is land use. I did visit the property and I drove all the sides of it. I certainly, the brand-new fencing will make a difference in terms of any deer getting into it.
And wild
But I could
horses.
certainly see the problem with the fact that where the home plate presently is, you're going to infringe on where you want to grow your crop, where your trees are. And that I could see the area where you propose to put your home, and I could see the sense in that. So having taken that and had a look at it, and look at the, as we're learning, because we're new on this planning, I can see the reason for doing this, so I can support the application. But I appreciate your explanations as well. Thank you very much.
Councillor Holmes.
Could I just ask, what is your intention for the existing structure once you have the new home built?
The house, the existing house.
The existing house is to rent it out to one of the pickers that will work, pick apples on the ground.
Councillor
It's a
Carlson?
comment that may just be more helpful. If you're not aware, the BC government has an $8.4 million replant grant available for the next 7 years. So make sure you tap into it when you start modernizing your farm.
Yeah, I kinda looked into that for fencing, but that went wayside too, so.
Yeah. I think, thank you for your comments. I think where, Councillor Carlson and myself have been full-time farmers at one time, and she certainly is right now. And we well know that when additional dwellings are built, what actually happens in reality is that people rent those houses, extra houses out, as full-time residents with no intention, really in reality, of ever having any farm help in them. And so that's the reality, and it's very difficult at this table to try and deal with that sort of reality. But this is why, if this house was not going to be going in an area that was essentially non-farmable, I wouldn't be moving on this at all. And so I think you can see that's why I was asking about the substance of the home plate area and so on. And I know the property very well. I've driven by
No, I
it
would be
hundreds of
ashamed
times.
to mow that house down. I mean, it's a heritage.
Oh, I know.
site.
I realize that.
That lady lived there, she's 87 years old.
There's no intention for any of us for you to take the house down or anything else. I think what we're trying to grapple with is the reality of what happens on farms these days when people make an application to do exactly what you're doing. And if it can't be within the farm plate, then, we're concerned. It would be the same concern about renting if you were in the farm plate with this new house. So, it's something that we see happening, and it happens up and down the valley and probably throughout BC. But, to try and get people to restrict to strictly farm help is a very difficult thing to do. But at any rate, the circumstances here allow me to support you, and but I will urge you to, if you're replanting, to take advantage of grants, take advantage of assistance to get good advice on how to do the job. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think we're ready to proceed. So can we have a councillor move the recommendation, please, as is? Councillor Peak, seconder, please. Councillor Boot. Is there any further discussion by any council? No? So I'd ask for a motion now, or ask for all in favor, please. Thank you. Any against? Councillor Carlson. Registered Councillor Carlson's against that
Yes, thank you.
motion. So the motion passes. Thank you.
Yes, with one opposed.
Thank you. Next, corporate
Yeah,
officer, please.
next, Mr. Mayor. Next item is your report on open government and procedure bylaw amendment. And it's your report to amend the procedure bylaw by implementing public comment at regular council meetings.
Okay. Just a minute here. I know it's 23. I'm trying to find it. Okay, I'll try and, I'm just going to paraphrase this. Everybody should have a copy of this particular recommendation and the background. I think to be relatively brief about it, this council came in under the aspect of being and seeing and being clear and having a good relationship with the public and offering the public opportunities for discussion and input into council decisions. So further to that, what we're instituting with this procedural bylaw is a 15-minute period, essentially before, is it before delegations or?
It's after delegations.
After delegations, before my report. So there'll be a 15-minute session, 2 minutes per speaker, and generally speaking, there will be no discussion. People will present their comments or opinions within that 2 minutes. And I'm going to have to be very strict with the 2-minute interval because we're, as you can see, it does expand the evening's proceedings. But I think we do want to hear from people before we take votes on things. And these will be an opportunity for people to make comment on items that are not already covered with some sort of public input. As you've seen tonight, there's public hearings and so on and so forth that public are allowed to speak on, and we're opening it up now to be much more open to the public for their questions prior to votes on those issues that don't already have public input. Further to that, we're expanding towards the end of the meeting, there will be a 15-minute period when press and the public can ask questions, and I believe we're basically doing that on any item at all that
Yes,
crosses
and
their
any
mind.
local government.
Yeah, in local government issue.
Yeah.
So those are the two main ones. The other one actually, which is big for council and is also, I think, big for the public essentially, is that I was always concerned about the committee of the whole and how that proceeded. It basically would be every Monday morning that we had council meetings that evening, and it was for information for councillors, and recommendations would come out of that to the evening council meeting where the issue would be further discussed and addressed through a motion. And I'm afraid I've always felt that because those morning sessions occur at 8:30 in the morning, and if I wasn't at that meeting, I'd be reading my paper and having a coffee, which I think a good number of the public would be doing. So we'd like to open that up and, and actually get rid of committee of the whole per se, but have it available for special situations that the CAO and myself and council will address. I did talk to one of my colleagues in the valley, another mayor, and I was kind of, querying him on this because I told him what I wanted to do, and he says, by all means, when we came in, that's exactly what we did. We removed the committee of the whole and addressed the information in the evening council session. So what you'll see is a little more discussion, a little more in-depth reports that we're requesting at the time of the evening council meeting, and of course then there's the public period as well. So I think with those three actions, we're doing everything at this time to open things up more to the public, to be open for more questions from the public, and to respond more definitively to concerns they may have. So I hope that'll help quite a bit. We're doing this intentionally early in our session, so that I've always felt that many of these things needed to be considered, and now we have the opportunity to bring them in, and I want our full term to be able to continue on the basis of rather exceptional public interplay, so to speak, with council. So is there any further discussion or comments from council? Councillor Peak? Keep it short.
Mr. Chair, I wholeheartedly, I think we're more transparent by taking committee of the whole out of the morning, which, because I attended them, I felt like they were a bit of a dress rehearsal for council. I think it allows the interplays and the question from council to be seen more vividly by the public, and they don't have to come both in the morning and in the evening to see that happen. And the other parts that you're bringing forward, I think, are terrific. I think that we all endorse that.
Good, thank you. Councillor Holmes?
Are we voting on all three of these things right now, or just?
Yes, it's one amendment to the procedure bylaw. So first 3 readings tonight, and it'll come up for adoption February the 10th, and then after that meeting, it will be implemented into the meetings.
Okay. I just have a couple concerns, Mr. Mayor, about the final point of getting rid of committee of the whole. One is, I know a lot of seniors especially who won't drive at night. And one thing about having a committee of the whole during the daytime is it does give them an opportunity to come here if they want. I know lots of people who wouldn't come here at night. The second point is my concern of getting rid of committee of the whole is that and moving everything to the nighttime here. My concern would be that we have less time to discuss things as opposed to more time.
Actually, Councillor Holmes, I'll be counting on you to assist us with that and making your comments as brief as possible. Any other comments? Councillor Barkwell?
Yeah, I too have a concern that we won't have maybe the full set of discussion that we should enjoy, but I don't have a solution to it because I also agree that Monday mornings are not the best time to have committee of the whole or anything like that. I wonder what time do you expect that these meetings to start, or would we start at 4 o'clock and then have a break, or and will they also be available on the internet like the current meetings are?
Okay, I think corporate officer or our CAO can answer that, but we are, they will be put on the web, correct? So all the proceedings are there for people who can't make it to the evening meeting for one reason or another.
Yeah, all our meetings
Yeah.
are onto the website.
It's Mr. CAO.
Yeah, maybe just one point of clarification with regard to committee of the whole. What you have in the bylaw are two sort of committees of the whole. You have the regular committee of the whole, which was the meeting on Monday morning, which has been characterized as a bit of a dress rehearsal. You also still have the ability to hold a committee of the whole anytime you wish to cover any specific item of importance. So you've probably seen, for example, the budget sessions. You've seen other special meetings that are coming up. I think there'll be a lot of business that will still occur during a committee of the whole because it's an opportunity for council to speak more than once to an issue. And I think those folks who aren't able to make it at night will be able to come out during the day, and then they'll be able to see the results of committee of the whole at their homes at some point, either through the television or they'll be able to pick it up off the website. So I wouldn't want people to think that we're no longer having a committee of the whole in opportunity in Summerland. It's actually just the reverse. There'll be many more opportunities to deal with specific issues as opposed to going through the business of the evening meeting in advance.
I probably rushed over it a little bit too quickly, but I think I did indicate that it would be up to the CAO, myself, and council to determine at times when we might have council or committee of the whole, as we've done, a number of times on budget. So, but I did want to, it just appeared to most of us looking at the situation that it was very regular that every Monday morning that we had council, we had committee of the whole. And it was felt that it became a bit of a dress rehearsal. And I think we can, keep things limited. We do have the option of, we can start earlier if we like to. But I think many times our meetings are done by 8:30, and we are by mandate we can go till 10. So I think we can easily cover things, and we're trying to speed things up anyway with the way we're handling our motions. So I think we'll be able to handle it. Anybody else have any comments? Councillor Booth? No? Done? Councillor Trainer? Too late. There we go.
A lot of times in the morning we ask questions about items on the agenda and we get really good answers from staff. And then we kind of forget to ask those questions again during the council meeting at 7, and those answers would probably benefit the public as well. So I think that this is a good idea because then we can ask them for the first time and that information will be shared with everyone. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think, there is some risk that the councillors will look a little stupid at times, but, we're willing to, and the mayor, well, I actually was leaving that out. But also, even with some of the other changes we're looking at, I have a friend who's a mayor in the valley, and he's looking at what we're doing in these changes and saying, I'm going to be watching. He says, well, that's kind of dangerous. And I said, I knew what he was thinking, that, you're going to have people taking over the meeting. And actually, I'm hoping that people will look at this as an opportunity to interact, that they've always wanted to be able to have some good opportunity for interaction before votes are taken, and that they'll respect the process. And I will be getting people to adhere to the time frames. So with that, can I have a motion to accept the recommendation, please? Councillor Peak, seconder. Councillor Boot. Any further discussion? Councillor Barkwell.
Do we have to read this whole motion out?
No, you're not. That's why I just said move the recommendation.
Okay.
If you want to, we can, but we've already been here long enough. So, thank you. Okay. No further discussion? Okay, all in favor then? Opposed? Councillor Holmes opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Motion passed, thank you.
Yes, with one
Carried.
opposed. Next item, Mr. Mayor, is a report by our Director of Works and Utilities with regard to capital grant applications, and I'll refer this to Don Darling.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, good evening. I'm going to do a report on capital funding. There's actually two purposes. One is to look at 5 projects that we think should be considered for funding, and the other is to get a resolution from council as to the priorities, because we need that in order to proceed with our applications. So there's basically 2 funding programs. There's a Canada, British Columbia New Building Canada Fund, Small Communities Fund. Applications must be submitted by February the 18th, so we're on a very short timeline. And it's 2/3 funding, and only 1 application can be submitted. The other program is the Federal Gas Tax Fund, Strategic Priorities Fund, and there's 2 portions of it. The first one is where we're going to apply for a couple of capital projects. Applications must be submitted by April 15th, 2015. It's up to 100% funding, and 2 applications can be submitted there. And the second portion is the same fund, except it's a capacity building. And there's applications, again, must be submitted by April 15th and up to 100%, but only one application. So in all, there's 4 applications that we can submit. The first one that I'm going to look at is the Comprehensive Asset Management Strategy, because it's considered the highest priority for funding under the federal gas tax, the capacity building portion. And that's the only one that qualifies under that particular fund. And so the reason why we're doing that is council has identified infrastructure renewal as a high priority. Asset management planning is a requirement of the Local Government Gas Tax Community Works Fund agreement, so we're required to do asset management planning. It provides 100% funding with an estimated cost for this study of about $125,000. Consultants could be retained to complete the study. If we relied on staff, the resources, we just don't have them, nor do we have the expertise necessarily, so it probably wouldn't get done. So if we can get the money and get consultants to do it, then it'll actually happen. And the deliverables would include integrated asset management plan, a 5-year financial plan, and a 10-year capital plan. So that's the one that we're recommending an application for on that program. And then there are 4 other projects that the district staff feels should be considered for funding assistance. In alphabetical order, they're the Flume and Water Intake Structure upgrade, the Garnet Valley Dam spillway widening and erosion protection, the Jones Flat and Garnet Valley water system separation, the wastewater treatment plant filtration and grit removal upgrade. And just note that there's only 3 opportunities left for those 4, so one of them is going to get pushed aside for this year. So the first project I'm going to talk about is the Flume and Water Intake Structure. It's the only point of diversion into the water treatment plant, so if we have problems with the flume, we have no water going into the water treatment plant anymore. It's approximately 16 years old and is near the end of its design life expectancy. The flume is in disrepair and is crumbling apart. It is at risk of failure due to the condition of the concrete, so it could simply, because it's above ground, it could simply just fall over once the concrete gives in. It is at risk of damage from vandalism, falling trees, or vehicle accidents, and you may wonder how a vehicle could harm it, but there is a section that is right near the road section, and we did have a truck, gravel truck go off the road and just barely missed the flumes. We've put up barriers now to protect it, but it is under risk of vehicle accidents. And damage may disrupt water supply for the entire community other than Garnet Valley, but it would basically, if it was a major problem, until we got it up and running again, there would be no water for the entire community. And this is just a picture of an area of the flume. You can see the concrete is crumbling. And this is just a close-up, and you can actually go in some sections and grab it by hand, and it just crumbles by hand. The water intake structure does not meet the Ministry of Environment and Department of Fisheries and Oceans regulations, so there's certain screening requirements for fish so that they don't go down the flume and get mixed up in our water system. Staff has no means of remotely reading the flows or adjusting flow rates, so they have to go out there on a daily basis to monitor what's going on. And this is a picture of the structure that's there right now. And one of the issues is that in this area here, in high flows, when staff has to go out there, if there's clogging or whatever, they actually have to lean over it. It's quite, it's a safety risk. And so the new structure that we're proposing would get rid of that issue. The project that the upgrade would be is 1.5 kilometers of combined pressurized water main and a free-flowing armored swale. The new intake structure with electronic controls and screening works that meet DFO and MOE fish requirements. We would save about $11,500 a year in operational costs that are in our flume budget right now. The estimated cost is $2.2 million, but those were done in 2013, and so if we decide to apply for funding, we'd have to revisit those costs. The design is 30% complete, and we are requesting budget approval for funds to complete the design in 2015. So it is, and aside from the overall project, we are going to ask for that regardless, but the $2.2 million includes the design. And the application could be ready for submission by the deadline of April 15th, but we haven't done any work on it at this point in time.
Could I have a quick question, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor, while we're on this slide? Is the application just for the design to get us started to then we would do another application at some point for the building of it?
When we do the application, we just wouldn't have the design ready.
Okay.
So they would probably delay the application somewhat until the design is actually completed. So then we'd have to fast track the design if they started to ask for information. But we can do the submission and there wouldn't be any redesign or anything.
Right, so it's just a bit of lag time and it would follow through as we made the application.
That's correct.
Thank you very, very much for
Thing
the
doesn't seem to work.
clarification.
It's dying on me. Here we go. So this is the project here. I don't think you can see it, but this is where the existing weir is. So that's the location where the new intake structure would be. The red line going down along the railway tracks is the existing flume. So in this location, this is the existing flume that goes down. It crosses underneath the railway tracks in a culvert, and then it's open from there on. So we'd be looking at replacing the open flume with a closed pipe and then rebuilding that open swale and building an intake structure. Excuse me. So again, this here is where I pointed out where the weir was on that other drawing, and the intake structure would just be located beside it. And this is a drawing of the intake structure. I don't know that I can really explain that because it's not in very good detail for you to see, but basically what it is the water would come over a weir in this location. It goes through an opening here, and this is the screening works. And so if you look at this in an angle, that would be the screening works. So it'd be very easy for staff to reach over and clean the screens. I apologize that the picture's hard to see. The next project is Garnet Valley Dam spillway widening and erosion protection.
Excuse me, just before you jump onto that, or I would have waited till later, but is there no way of setting up a back flushing operation so you don't have to do that manually?
To automate it?
Yeah.
Yes, you could, but it's expensive. An example is at the screening works at the reservoir, at the balancing reservoir. It was about $750,000 to put in an automated thing to, mechanism to clean the screens. I'm not suggesting it would be that much, but I mean, you're probably looking at $250,000 to $400,000 to install something that would be reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive to automate any of this stuff.
Yeah, because many of us are used to pretty large back flush situations for cleaning those sorts of things automatically. Anyway, proceed. Thank you.
Okay, again, the spillway widening and erosion protection. The Garnet Valley Inundation Study identified that the dam needed to be reclassified to extreme, It was high, but now it has an extreme rating. And dam safety regulations have changed, and dams classified extreme now need to meet the requirements of the probable maximum flood. Based on the probable maximum flood calculations, we have three options so that we could comply. The first is to raise the height of the dam. The second is to lower the maximum level of the water in the reservoir. And the third is to widen the spillway, which is what we would recommend. And I'll just briefly explain a bit about probable maximum flood. Its design parameters assume everything will happen at the same time, and we have argued with the province that that's unreasonable. It's just not all going to happen at the same time, but that's what the requirements are, and they are not willing to bend. So it says we're going to have a large snowpack, quick melting, probable maximum storm, watershed moisture levels high, and it also considers routing times, attenuation of flows, and slope steepness. And so nobody's even been able to tell us what the, like whether it's a 1 in 10,000 storm or a 1 in 100,000 storm. They've just basically said everything's going to happen at the same time. So, and it's extremely low probability of occurrence, as we all know, but it has catastrophic results. So the first option would be raising Garnet Dam, and based on the current dam cross-section, we could raise it by 1.82 meters. There's a certain requirement about how wide the top of the dam can be, and we have enough there that we could raise it up to 1.82 meters. We'd have to do a geotechnical review to figure out whether it affects the stability of the dam that's there, and also whether it will withstand a 1 in 10,000 year earthquake event. And the existing structure meets all the requirements, but if they build something on top, we'd have to confirm that they will. The construction process may be more difficult than other options, and the cost is about $420,000, but there's a lot of hidden things that we don't know about until we do all the geotechnical reports and everything, so it could be higher. And that's just a little graphic that shows what the plan is. This is the upstream face, so this is where the reservoir is, and the plan is just to raise the downstream face to get some height so that we have more attenuation. We could lower the water level, and the water level would have to be lowered 3.74 meters below full pool, and full pool is where the spillway is, so that's full pool, so we'd have to lower it 3.74 meters below that. We had a consultant look at it, and they said that it would cause algae blooms, odor issues, and negatively affect water quality. And in 2014, council passed a resolution in support of staff recommendations. So instead of lowering the water level, we recommended that they lower it to 0.67 meters below full pool, which deals with the 1 in 1,000 year flood event. We increased monitoring of the Garnet Valley water system, and we delay the project until such time as funding is available. So that's what we're doing right now. And the spillway widening, the current capacity of the spillway is 42 cubic meters per second. The probable maximum flood says it should be 84 cubic meters per second. The maximum the minimum downstream capacity in some areas is only 1.2 meters per second. So even if we built it, there would still be, once the water starts crashing down that spillway, there'd be widespread flooding, and especially in the downtown core here, it would be, basically this would almost be submerged. 2,000 residents are at risk, 300 residents at highest risk, 742 building structures, and 681 are in the high danger zone. So again, low probability, catastrophic results. And that's just a picture of a graphic of how they would widen it. And then they did a computer model to actually confirm it, and that's just a picture of it. So erosion protection, it wasn't part of the discussion on the spillway, but the dam safety review recommended erosion protection for several of our dams, and one of them is Garnet. It's estimated that the protection is $300,000, and it's about $300,000 per dam. I think we have two others that we have to do, so we're looking at fair costs there, but it's $300,000 for this. We would recommend that if we decided to go ahead with this project, that we would include the erosion control as part of the scope of the project. So the widening of the spillway is $365,000. The erosion protection is $300,000. So the cost of this project would be $665,000. And that's just a graphic that shows the erosion protection. This is the top of the dam here, and so that's the reservoir side, and it just is the detail of what kind of, the report showed what kind of erosion protection would have to be done. The next one is Jones Flat and Garnet Valley Water System separation. There are two main issues that we are trying to address. One is water quality in the Garnet Valley Water System, and the second is water treatment plant capacity. In addition, there's two other issues that would be resolved. One is the improvements to the surface of Garnet Valley Road, which is one of our biggest complaints, the condition of that road and the fact that we're patching upon patches upon patches upon patches upon patches. It's in bad shape. And we provide water from the water treatment plant to Garnet Valley water users who have been contributing to through taxation to the water treatment plant for years. Water quality. Walkerton water tragedy resulted in changes to drinking water regulations. IHA implemented a more stringent regulation saying that we have to have a multi-barrier approach, so they're looking at least 2 barriers. And then Garnet Valley, their only protection is chlorination, so they only have 1. So IHA deems that their water is not, the water there is non-compliant in meeting the drinking water treatment objectives of surface water supplies in BC, and they requested that we sent out a letter advising the residents there of the health risk. That has been done, and the project would resolve any of the issues that we have with water quality out there. Water treatment plant capacity. We run near capacity during the summer when all the irrigation is on. If it exceeds capacity, we have to open the supplemental line, and as soon as we do that, IHA requires that we do water quality advisories or boil water notices. And the concern about that is that we put signs out telling people, the public, that there are boil water notices or water quality advisories, and it could affect local business or the tourism industry. People are driving by and they see the signs and think, well, we'll just keep going. And there are two options for increasing capacity. One is to expand the water treatment plant, and the other is separate irrigation water lines from domestic. So the expansion was considered during the design phase of the water treatment plant, and it was discounted because it was impractical to irrigate land with treated water. It's just expensive. So they decided to cap the size. I believe it's about a population of 57,000 it'll service. So, you know, it's got lots of capacity. The problem is that we're putting irrigation water through it right now. Strategically separating the domestic water mains from irrigation was considered the best, most feasible alternative. And water separation will reduce operational costs, and it'll free up capacity for future subdivisions or developments in other areas of the community. And the reason why I say other areas is I don't want people to think that it'll free up capacity so now we can develop Garnet Valley because it's agricultural. It just frees up capacity for anywhere in the community that's being serviced by the water treatment plant. And this is somewhat hard to see, but this is the Jones Flat area. I mean, the project goes all the way out to Garnet Valley Road, but this is the Jones Flat area. So anything on the left-hand side, so this is Bentley Road here in Victoria. Anything on this side of the line is part of the project. Anything on that side of the line is not. And the other thing is that this side of the line would be fed by irrigation water. So this is the side that would be fed by irrigation water from Garnet Valley. This, when it's separated in the future, wouldn't be. It's a completely different, it comes from a different location. So it would be from the water treatment plant. You know, if you want to know exactly how it goes, I can explain it in detail if you come up to my office. But all you have to know really is that this is the only area we're talking about getting water, irrigation water from Garnet Valley. Project summary, it includes the separation of domestic mains from irrigation. There's about 10,600 meters of various size water mains, a construction of a water pump station, upgrading of the surface of Garnet Valley Road. There's minor drainage works because there's drainage issues all the way along, but we're not putting curb and gutter and major drainage. It'll all mainly be done by just, you know, super elevating the road or whatever. Detailed design is complete and the project could be tendered. Revised estimated cost is $6.9 million, and the application for funding is ready for submission. We basically, all we need is approval, and it's raring to go. And then wastewater treatment plant filtration and grit removal upgrade. The water treatment plant is approximately 17 years old, and though it looks good on the outside, it's falling apart on the inside. The treatment process, though, is still considered state-of-the-art, so the treatment process is not a concern. But the filtration and grit removal are old technologies, and we're starting to have problems with them. It's nearing the end. They're nearing the end of their design life expectancy, and if they fail, we could have significant environmental impacts. So first, the filtration system. It's a sand bed with an under drain that directs the filtered and treated effluent to UV protection, and then it goes out to Okanagan Lake. The under drain failed in 2011, and we spent $40,000 on an emergency repair, and it has failed again. Staff did a lot on that to get it up and running, and it's lasted a couple of years, but not as long as we had hoped. The drain has collapsed and is filled with sand, which is restricting flows. We now have to rebuild it, not just fix it, or just patch it. And it's estimated to be around $230,000. We're going to be requesting, as part of the budget process, the $230,000 for 2015 to spend this year. But we won't proceed with the rebuild unless the funding's not approved. So we're not going to rebuild it and then find out we got the funding, and now we're going to go and put in a whole new system. So we just need the approval to rebuild it, and then we'll wait until we get the approval or not approved on the funding application. And the rebuilt filtration system may not meet the new requirements anticipated by the Ministry of Environment. We're not sure when they're coming out, but they've just said they're going to change, they're going to be more stringent, and if we just rebuild the filtration system, it may not meet that, and then we'll end up having to replace it anyway. And that's the existing building, and that's the existing filtration system. And the grit removal. The screening of the grit removal system is coarse, and it's in like long sections. It's not little square openings. Sand, gravel, and elongated garbage easily flow through, and it clogs quite easily. Manual cleaning keeps staff away. They have to go in there 3 times a day to clean it. The cost to deal with the maintenance issues is staff is estimating between $10,000 and $20,000 a year. Once that stuff gets into the pumps and so forth, they start to fail. They have to go out, they get rebuilt, or we have to replace them. So it's costing about 10 or 20 grand a year. The total cost for the filtration and the grit removal upgrade is estimated to be around $4 million. And there it is right there. All of you had a peek of it when you had the tour. That's where you were all plugging your noses and everything. And so the application's priorities and rationale, and the priorities are just what staff has set. So, I mean, it's up to council to decide whether they agree or disagree or want to change them. So the first one we said was Jones Flat, Garden Valley, and the rationale is the health risk to the residents will be eliminated. The water treatment plant capacity will be made available. Fairness to residents who have been taxed for the water treatment plant for several years. Reduced operational costs. The road surface improvements will be eliminated, and also that'll also reduce operational costs. The design is completed and the project is ready for tender, and it's the only project where the design is complete, tender ready, and the application is ready for submission by the February 18th deadline. And that doesn't mean the other ones can't. It just means that they would be submitted with very little information. The flume and water intake structure upgrade, it's the only pointed diversion, approximately 60 years old in disrepair and a risk of vandalism, falling trees, and vehicle accidents. Damage could disrupt the service to the entire community. Project would bring the intake into compliance with the Ministry of Environment and the Fisheries. Maintenance costs could be reduced by about $11,500 a year. The design is 30% complete, and as I mentioned, we are going to be asking for money to complete it. No work has been done yet on the grant application, but again, it could be ready for April the 15th. The third is a wastewater treatment plant. It's the failure of the filtration system could be an environmental embarrassment because Ministry of Environment is already on our case about the problems we're having with it. Increased life expectancy of expensive pumping equipment. Modern technologies would comply with the revised regulations that we're anticipating. Operational costs would be reduced by $10,000 to $20,000 a year. Design is complete and the project is ready to tender. No work on the grant application, but could be ready by the April 15th deadline. And we did have an application before, so this one is probably the second closest to being ready because we could take a lot of that information and import it into the new application. And the build of the filtration system would make this project less urgent. So if we spent the $200,000 on the filtration system to rebuild it, then this project becomes less urgent because it'll probably last for another 10 years kind of thing, as long as Ministry of Environment doesn't change their regulations and force us to change it. And Garnet Valley Dam spillway widening and erosion protection, it's extremely low probability of occurrence with catastrophic results. It addresses dam failure but not widespread downstream flooding. Erosion protection would protect the dam face. Keeping the water 0.67 meters below full pool provides an attenuation of a 1 in 1,000-year flood event. And one thing I should note is one of our operators has been working here for over 20 years, and the deepest he's ever seen the water in the spillway is about 8 inches deep, about 200 millimeters. So that's the most he's ever seen. And it's just the last 2 years that we've started keeping it this 0.67 below. So there's really never been an issue. Not to say that it's not going to happen, but it's just never been an issue in 20 years. So there's no expected increase or decrease to operational costs. It's just really a safety provision. And it's competition with other priorities, budget constraints, and the low probability of occurrence suggests that this project is the least urgent. So the priorities, and again, this is just staff priorities. A couple of these slides, sorry, I should have mentioned before, a couple of these slides are slightly different than what you were presented for, just because we added the comprehensive asset management strategy at the last minute. So anyways, we're recommending that for the Canada BC New Building Canada Fund, Small Communities Fund, that Jones Flat be the #1 priority, and that's the one where we get the 67% funding, and there's only one application there. And then for the Federal Gas Tax Fund, Strategic Priorities Fund, the Flume and Water Intake Structure Upgrade, we're recommending #1, and 2 would be the Wastewater Treatment Plant Filtration and Grit Removal Upgrade. And then for the Federal Gas Tax Fund, Strategic Priorities Fund, Capacity Building, the only one that qualifies is the Comprehensive Asset Management Strategy. And you'll notice that the spillway is not on there. That's the one that we're recommending drops off. And that's the end. So I guess for clarification, I mean, council can rearrange them any way that they wish. I mean, you can make as an example, you could make the Flume #1 and the Jones Flat #2 and still put Jones Flat underneath the very first one, even though it's our #2 priority, because what you're doing is you're rating them in priority of how they fall in the projects, but then you also rate them as how they are for each one of the applications. So it's kind of a...
I just wonder if you can reiterate, like on the Jones Flat one, there's potential for 2/3 funding, right?
That's correct.
From federal and provincial?
Yes, it's two-thirds of the project costs. There are ineligible costs, and we've estimated those to be, is a little over $100,000, Laurie? Yeah. So those don't qualify, so it's just on the eligible costs.
Okay, so that 67% represents how many dollars again?
67%, two-thirds of 7 million.
Oh, 7 million, okay. It's getting there.
For the grant funding?
Yeah.
So the grant that we'd be applying for is 4.460 million.
Out of a total of the, did you say 7 million?
6.89, isn't it?
6.8. Okay, on the Flume, what's our percentage participation by funds?
If we stayed with our recommendation, it would be up to 100%. And the reason why I say up to 100% is because they say that the funding is 100%, but I've never had a grant that's 100%, so I'd rather say up to and then find out that I'm wrong.
What I'm trying to do here is chase down the more precise amounts in terms of, you know, we've had a lot of information. What I'm trying to figure out here, and I know it's, you know, it's a simplification of things, but, you know, on the first one, we're looking at trying to fund through our own budget or through our own means the difference between 6.8 and 4.4.
That's correct.
And on the Flume, there is a potential there of receiving as much as 100%, but let's say it's more likely to be what, 2/3?
I wouldn't say that. You know, it just depends on the program, but they might say it's 100%, but we're only going to, you know, you're going to have to cut back on the project. Okay. So like on if we if it was Jones Flat for that program, they may say you're going to have to phase it, and we'll fund 100% of the first phase.
Okay. Going to the flume, could our CFO perhaps give us a better idea there, and what our total is, what for the flume again? 2.2 was it?
2.2 million, the costs were from 2013.
Okay.
So the grant program that we would be applying under, we would ask for 100% funding. And it would be up to the administration of that grant, their review, whether they would give us the 100% funding or not. So once we were notified, then we would have to come up with a funding source for any shortfall that we may have if they choose not to give us 100% funding in order to
Okay.
proceed with the project.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is that we've got a certain potential from grants. It looks like, you know, the best thing we can get on the Jones Flat would be looking at 2.4 million of trying to borrow that money or find that money, correct?
That's correct,
Okay, so
Mr.
on the
Mayor.
flume operation, I mean, the best scenario would be 100%. But in your estimation, if we get anything at all, it's likely to be at least 67 or maybe even 80%?
Mr. Mayor, I think the Director of Finance was saying that we would apply for 100%, and, you know, they don't really say.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
okay.
100% funding, that's what we'd apply for. What they actually give us, I really couldn't say.
Okay. And the next one was really the grit removal?
That's correct.
And what's our potential for grants?
Same
there?
thing, we'd be asking for 100%.
100%? Okay. So essentially, all you're asking us today is to proceed with these applications, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're asking you to confirm the priorities. We need a resolution that confirms what the priorities are, and then just gives us the go-ahead to apply for the funding.
Okay. I guess, you know, I'll get councillors to come in just a minute. I guess when I look at the whole system, and your comment about the water treatment plant is at risk if the flume section fails, that starts to put the whole community's water supply at risk. The likelihood of that failing is?
It doesn't, Mr. Mayor, it doesn't put the water treatment plant at risk. What it puts at risk is the water supply.
Just the source?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I wouldn't imagine that it's going to be a large failure, but any kind of a failure is going to disrupt it. And in the balancing reservoir, we don't have a lot of capacity there,
Right.
so things would shut down very quickly.
Okay.
We would have to bring in some kind of large culverts or whatever and put something together so that we could get the water flowing again, but it could be a considerable amount of time before that happened.
I guess what I'm saying is I would go with your priorities. I was just looking for, is there a rationale for changing that priority at all? Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate the fact that as a council, we were able to go out and tour these sites. And having toured those sites and then hearing what staff have to say about the priorities that you put on them, I would go with the prioritization that you've presented to us. And with the hopes of having the funding come through in whatever manner. I know that there are ins and outs and how it happens, but I would just go with the priorities as suggested by staff. I think they have a good consideration. Certainly understand your questions in regards to the flume, but I would certainly go with the priorities as suggested.
Councillor Holmes. Anybody over here?
Are the different funds completely independent of each other? Would you have any insight of, they say, they've got the small communities fund grant, so we're not going to give them a gas tax fund project?
Perhaps our CFO might want to answer that.
The two categories or the two funding sources are separate from each other. But I would suggest that there certainly is some awareness at the political level of how many dollars have come not only to Summerland, but also to our Okanagan region, so our regional district. There are applications under the gas tax money at a regional level as well. So The first one, the Build Canada Fund, is limited to communities under $100,000 or 100,000 in population. So that narrows the pool a bit from the larger communities in British Columbia. But of course, there's, there is no definite answer, and we certainly apply with our best hopes and intentions of receiving the funding. But we don't have an answer today as to whether applying under one program will impact our results under the other one.
Any other questions, Councillor Boo?
This has to do with the scheduling. I know that it was probably a question for you, Lori. If our application deadline is in April, what kind of target is there set for when we would actually hear back whether or not we were successful, even to a degree with our application?
I haven't seen a date. That's not to say it isn't in the program application or program guide, and I'll take another look through that, Mr. Mayor. But I don't have an answer to that question right tonight. But I can certainly find that out if they have a time frame for announcements. So the one category, though, the deadline is February the 18th. The other category is the April date that you mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barkle.
Yes, Mr. Darling, you didn't say anything about it, but it's my understanding that these revised figures since 2012 include some, a design which includes a widening of the road a little bit, that gives people a little bit of a shoulder. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, we were asked to provide additional funds in the budget for that. The design hasn't been done because it came in too late. There are issues with trying to do a walkway because there's sections of that road that are on private property. The road's there and we're allowed to have the road, but whether we can expand the width of the road, we'd have to determine. There's also topography issues, not enough road right away. So, but there are funds in there that would be sufficient to build the pathway, but it's just whether it can physically be done or not. And if I could just comment again, there's really two parts to what we're asking today. One is the priorities. So if council felt more comfortable by having the flume as the #1 priority, they can quite easily do that. And then the second part of the question is which ones do you want, which projects do you want to be applied for under which funds? So you could have the flume as #1 and the Garnet Valley as #2 if that's what you felt more comfortable with. But you could still have Garnet Valley as the #1 priority for that fund that we're saying it should be applied under, and the flume for #1 under the other. So there's really two sections. So one is setting the priorities, and then one is saying we want to apply this project under that fund. If you understand what I'm...
I think so. I don't think that I would, as Councillor Peak mentioned earlier, have any desire to change the priorities that you set. I think I'd like, after we've dealt with a couple of questions here, perhaps our CFO can sort of delineate the grants and where, or the funding applications and where they would sit vis-a-vis each project. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In my past life, having looked at small community grants, I think you have less competition, and I think that is the right one to do. The Jones Flat one under would be my gut instinct. Certainly, in discussions that I had with our CFO, I felt that was the case. Again, I would go with the priorities that staff have set out. I think those are the most likely ones. You throw this up in the air and God decrees what you get, so, and who knows when you get the money.
Yep.
Councillor Traynor, did you have a question?
This is off topic, but
Oh, well.
I have to use the washroom. Is there protocol for how we do that?
Sure, yes.
Just leave the room.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
we'll-
I didn't know if I had to excuse myself.
We should have taken a break, I guess. Sorry. Councillor Parkville.
Yes, I sort of along the lines of what you were saying, I don't think I've received any information that could help me decide under which grant or program these applications should be made under. I think we'll have to leave that to staffs who are knowledgeable about these programs.
Is that satisfactory, CAO? Because I was sort of hit by the second bomb there. I was fine with the priorities and understanding the projects, and I guess where I was coming from ultimately and what I was trying to determine for the public and myself was what would we be addressing in terms of what would we be asking our taxpayers to look at down the road, and because when you have 100% potential funding for one, 100% potential for another, 67 for another, and I'm missing the last one in my head anyway, that you know, we've got a lot of potential, very good projects and very necessary projects, and I don't want to leave any of them off the list because they're all high priority pretty much. So in other words, there's at least as far as 3 of them go, we're looking at searching for, if we were successful, 2.4 somewhere down the road for the Jones Flat or for the Garnet Valley Road situation, correct? So maybe we should just proceed with the recommendation and leave the sorting out of the applications vis-a-vis which project to staff. Is that acceptable?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the way that
Pardon me?
the director has laid it out is that we've gone through it. I think it seems to be most logical. You know, it's really an art more than a science in this grant application process. And of course, the big unknown this year is that there's an election at the federal level coming up. And my experience has been every time there's an election, there seems to be a real move to get these applications approved and moved along. So I think the most important thing for us is to be on time, to have complete applications, and to have a lot of support at the council table in speaking to our federal and provincial representatives. Again, if we don't get funding this year, we get one project or the other, well, we can apply again next year. Sure. So I think what we have now is I give a lot of credit to Don and his staff, and to Lori, I think a pretty good game plan to move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Peak, you had a comment a minute ago? Oh, I thought you did. Anything else from other councillors? I think with that, I would like to move ahead and ask someone to move the staff recommendation, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Carlson. Is there any further discussion at all? Councillor Boot.
I'd just like to say that with this, the priority number 1 given to the Jones Flat and Garnet Valley project, I really like to see, I really like to see that. I think that we all need to have potable drinking water according to the IHA guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
I think one thing I'd like to add too, when it came to the grit removal, et cetera, in the wastewater treatment plant, I think it's, you know, was brought up in the last term that, you know, that's a necessary project because of the wear and tear that occurs. And I think I'd argue with you about the plant falling apart. I think we've got a very good plant, and the staff has done an excellent job of maintaining it as far as they can. And I think we'll do the best we can to ensure that we get the longevity. And I think the grit removal aspect of it is critical. So I hope we get that as well. But I don't want anybody left with the impression that we're, you know, in a tough way with our wastewater treatment plant. I think we've done a very good job. We've got a good plant, and we're just going to make sure that if we can proceed with these projects, then we'll be ensuring the lifespan of the plant. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So with that, no more discussion, and could I have all in favor, please? No opposed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Corporate officer, what have we
Thank
got?
you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
That was a long thing, and sorry to put you through so much, but that's what you get for having a new council. You know, okay?
Next item on the agenda is our first amendment to tonight's meeting agenda, item 10.3. This morning, at this morning's Committee of the Whole budget meeting, it was discussed the District of Summerland currently provides rental agreements for the Potters Guild and the Community Arts Council, and staff would like to renew the rental agreements for the Summerland Potters Guild and the Summerland Community Arts Council on a month-to-month basis for the year 2015. And we would request that recommendation from council.
Thank you. Have you, any questions, the corporate officer or CAO? No? I think I'd like to address it in that, you know, we realized that we were funding until, I think, December. But because of budget considerations, we're looking at a month-to-month basis right now. Once we've determined that under the budget process, that we're looking for a stability situation for the Arts Council and the Potters Guild. And that's sort of all I'll say right now on it, because the budget deliberations will determine what we can do. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to accept the recommendation. Councillor Carlson, seconder. Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is the councillors' reports.
There we go. Okay, we'll start with, now that she's really set to go. Councillor Traynor, thank you.
Thank you. On January 13th, I attended the first Business After Business of 2015 at Rockstar District. The turnout was very good, and it was nice to see everyone after the holidays. Rockstar District recently relocated from a space next to IGA to the corner of Main and Victoria. Owner Carrie Pennington, along with Canyon View Construction, did a really good job with their renovations. It's great to see that a business is now in that location again, and I wish Carrie all the best. Last week, I attended the Philosopher's Cafe at the IOF Hall. The guest speaker was Danielle Crissa. She grew up in Summerland, but has lived in several cities around North America and recently returned with her husband and son to live here. Danielle is a successful artist, blogger, and author. She spoke to us about overcoming our own creative blocks and was very inspiring. The Philosopher's Cafe is an excellent opportunity to meet Summerlanders and to have meaningful conversations in a casual and comfortable environment. Last week, I also attended an information session hosted by the Trail of the Okanogans group. The project manager from the Ministry of Transportation provided us with an update on the Lakeshore Pathway, which will run between the north end of Trout Creek and Lowertown. He expects construction to begin this spring and to be completed in time for the summer. And just as a reminder to everybody, Summerland contributed a total of $100,000 to this project between 2013 and 2014, and the province is contributing $420,000. And finally, I spent the last couple Sundays volunteering at Critter Aid to help clean cat boxes and spend time with the cats. The organization is currently looking for more volunteers. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Aaron, for leading a couple of things for me to talk about. I also attended the Rockstar opening, or I guess I wouldn't call it an opening, but their meet the Chamber of Commerce and Business After Business. And one of the things I found interesting about that business is that she started as an internet business and still has a big part of her business over the internet, you know, serving the world from Summerland. So that's maybe an indicator of the things to come in the future. And I also attended the meeting concerning the trails, which I found really interesting, quite exciting, and hopefully in Summerland we can expand upon the sort of Central Valley trail network that they're working on with more local trails that would attract the cyclists coming through. And one of the interesting things that they showed us that Aaron forgot to mention, which gives me my chance, is that they've produced some maps of each of the areas, the towns in the valley, which will be going to hotels and such with the bike trails marked on them. And everybody was pretty enthusiastic when they saw the drafts of those maps. I also attended the Heritage Commission meeting last Wednesday, so I missed the Philosopher's Cafe, which is disappointing, but the Heritage Commission is doing some interesting things, and probably the most interesting thing in the immediate future is heritage tours of downtown Summerland. And you can sign, that's on February 16th if you're interested, and you can sign up, I believe, at the museum. Is that correct? Yes, I'm getting the nod. That's correct. You can sign up at the museum for these heritage tours. And there's 2 tours, and there's only 15 spaces available for each tour. So if you're really interested, get there early. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our young Sarah Cornett-Ching for making it, qualifying for the Daytona. She's a race car driver and she lives in Summerland. So congratulations to that young lady in our midst. I attended the chamber meeting of the Trail of the Okanagan as well, and I really, just like Councillor Barkwell, really like the RDOS map that they have out, or they will have out. It's really nice. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting the following evening, and just want to remind the people here, they have a nominees reception on Friday, January the 30th. Maybe Councillor Peake, you can remind me where that is.
It's 5 to 7 at the Marina Banquet
Right, thank you.
Center, and it's free. So it's to thank them and celebrate all those that were nominees. We don't know yet who's going to win, but we want to celebrate everybody.
Right, and this is the first time the Chamber has had this nominees reception, so that's great. Also, a reminder that the Community Awards Gala is on February the 28th, and I understand that's being held at the Lake Summerland Resort again. Yeah. So it's a beautiful venue. With Mayor Waterman, I continued working with the RDOS on their budget last Thursday. I've met with 3 constituents this past week, all with interesting ideas that they've brought forward, and I continue to appreciate any information that I can get from other people and work towards revitalizing our community. I also attended on the 21st the opening day of a new business in Summerland, the Crazy Cat Cafe at 9906 Main Street. It's where the Carrot Top Diner used to be. So please drop in for lunch sometime and say hello to Therese and wish her well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Booth. Councillor Carlson.
All right. I've got a couple of things. First is the Climate Action Committee has a pilot project program that is currently open for submissions for groups that would like to apply for funding to do some form of carbon reduction for our community. So you can go to Climate Action, summerlandclimateaction.ca, I think, and get a submission form if you have a really good idea and you want some funding for that. And the second is last week I went to the Local Government Leadership Academy seminar in Kelowna and was given legal advice and advice by George Abbott and advice on engaging the public as we move forward through the process. There were seminars on budgeting, some media training, learned a lot from BC Assessment. It was just more of what we've done, but also very eye-opening and a different set of speakers. So it was really worthwhile for me, and I'm working on getting some points down to share with people, but it's it hasn't quite happened yet. I've taken some notes.
Okay, thank you, Carlson. Councillor Carlson. Councillor Holmes.
I feel I've been shadowing all the other councillors the past couple of weeks. I've been to Business, Philosopher's Cafe, and also the Trail of the Okanagan Society. And I just want to say one thing about the footpath that'll be connecting Lower Town and Truck Creek. What's really exciting about that, I think, is that we are connecting 2 parts of our community that traditionally have been kind of unconnected. So that's momentous, I think. I'd like to mention that minor hockey, the regular season has ended this past weekend, and I want to wish good luck to all the Summerland Jets teams as they start the playoffs next weekend. I sit on the, I'm the liaison on the Community Cultural Advocacy Committee. Before I was elected, I was a member of that committee. So we've been meeting for past 6 months or so, and we've been a lot of discussions about the 4 pillars of community sustainability, which I encourage everybody to take a look at. We've got lots of literature kind of floating around. We're all reading it, but basically it's about local government is responsible for promoting what they call the 4 pillars: the social, economic, environmental, and cultural well-being of a community. And culture is quite often the forgotten pillar out of those 4. But to achieve a sustainable development, we need to focus on all 4 types of well-being. one trap of establishing municipal cultural policy is that looking at culture, you either look at it at the community level, we either look at it too broadly, that is, larger society's entirely way of life, or else we look at it too narrowly, it's just the arts. So when we're debating cultural policy, we're going to have to decide what culture means to our community and how we embrace it. The cultural committee will be making a presentation to council in the coming weeks with their plans for how we can, their ideas for how we can develop a cultural plan. So just give you a heads up on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much. Aren't we lucky to have so many people out attending things? There's lots I couldn't get to, so I'm really making notes about the things I didn't get to from my fellow councillors. I'm really pleased you're passing on good information. And Aaron, it's great that you were able to get to the leadership thing, because I know that other people couldn't, and I had to work and couldn't. So when you get your notes together, that'll help all of us too. I went to the business after hours. I think Rock District is a great location on that corner. A wonderful young woman who's organizing that business, and as Richard said, with an internet base to start with, she's got a real opportunity there. I was sorry to hear that Carrie's dad had passed away in the week before that opening, and certainly condolences from all of us here. The Business Means Business was another meeting. The Philosopher's Cafe is something that, as I came new to the community, it's such a welcoming thing to come to, and it's also part of our cultural asset. We need to support these kind of things, and as Doug said, there's a broader base for culture. I went to the CCAC meeting, if that's how the acronyms for it, the Cultural Asset Committee that Doug has been a member of, and now I'm an alternate on. They were very welcoming, and they certainly had interesting ideas, and they will be doing the presentation. They may modify the request for budgeting from council to do a plan, and as our staff have looked at, perhaps we could combine that if we're going to do a recreational plan, and I think there's opportunities for us there. So we'll all be looking for that as we go forward. I'd like to do a congratulations to the owners of Sweet Tooth. They have reorganized their business, and they are now doing an evenings thing. They've done a whole redress of decoration within their storefront, and they're now doing as a coffee cafe. So they're doing desserts, Wi-Fi's there, they're a licensed establishment. You and your friends can go out in the evening. They're open from 5 to 9, Wednesday to Sunday, and I think they're doing an open mic night on Sundays. However, I know they're doing something for the Super Bowl this weekend, so if you want to take your friends down and watch the Super Bowl and have a nice time collectively, that's a good opportunity. So we hope that they do well. Yes, the Crazy Cat Cafe is in where the Carrot Top was, and T and her husband Darren have done a lot of work behind the scenes there. I was in for lunch and also bought a lunch to take to work because I was in a hurry, and it was delicious. They have the proximity to the high school, and again, I hope they do really well there. So there's some vibrancy in our downtown with a number of things going on in the more recent past, and perhaps some of them actually came on since we've started to be on council. So small communities are cyclical, and we're hoping that our cycle is emerging and going up. Thank you, fellow councillors, for giving me more information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Peak. So now I guess we can open things up to the public question period. Questions from the public and the media. Does the public have anything they want to ask us? Any comments? You are awake, aren't you? Just
Your eyes are open.
we're having tough. Your eyes are open, but you're asleep. Okay, from the press, Mr. Kyber.
I have a question. I would appreciate Councillor Carlson clarifying why she opposed the variance application on the Prairie Valley Road property.
I think it's a matter of principle for me to, I'd like them to prove me wrong, I guess.
Well, I guess, my question was, what's the principle?
Well, that it is farmland and there's already a house there, and we have the agricultural land reserve to prevent that from turning into more houses. So I'd like them to to, I guess, do what the land reserve is set out for it to do and to allow.
Okay, any further questions? John? Nothing? Gee, we wore you out with all the discourse here? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the general meeting, please, or we're good, and then we're gonna be moving into camera.
Yes, that's right, moving into
So how do you
in-camera.
want to do that, Corporate Officer?
There's a resolution to go in camera
Do we adjourn the main meeting first before we
during
do
this meeting. We're moving to,
Or-
yes.
Okay. Like a motion for adjournment of our regular evening meeting. Thank you. Counselor Boot, Counselor Trainer. All in favor? Thank you. So thank you, press and public, and we'll be moving forward in a few minutes.